back to school. It's like an exasperated
Back to
yawn.
life.
Go ahead.
Back to reality. Back to life. Back to reality.
Do you know the rest of the song,
No,
or just
she
those two
She
lines?
obviously
needed
doesn't know any of the other words.
Just the two lines.
The beat.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, y'all
Okay.
are worthless.
Hey, it is time to talk back to school. As a matter of fact,
I'm not ready. I'm normally ready.
no one's ever ready. Now, people are ready for someone else to watch their kids all day. That's a thing.
I'm ready for child.
I remember when I was a kid, and what's the Christmas song that's like "Mom and Dad" or for kids?
Where are the crickets?
You know what I'm talking about? Then
No.
I'm thinking Christmas.
yeah, it's the Christmas song about like
Kissing.
mom and dad are ready for the kids to go back to school. You can't think of.
I can't.
Don't know that one.
Shoot.
Yeah, you do. I'll figure it out later. Anyway, when I was a kid, I was always like, that's just such a horrible thing to say. And then you're like, I love my kids. I love spending time with them. But there is a point where you're like, man, you guys need some structure. You need some other people
let's just get
having
back
some
into
things
our
for you to do.
Yeah, mode.
But I also do love spending time
It's
with my
beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
kids. Yeah. What?
That's what you were thinking of?
That's the song I was
And
singing.
Mom and Dad can hardly
Wait
wait
for school to start again.
Yeah.
It's beginning to look. All right.
You guys, you ready with your faces? You ready to stop?
Well, I
acting
mean,
like
the way you described it was a little off.
No, it was not at all off. I said there's a Christmas song about parents being ready for their kids to go back to school, mom and dad, and then I lost the lyric was what happened. But I was 100% bullseye accurate that there was a Christmas song about parents being ready for their kids to go back to school. Now for the topic of today's podcast, back to school.
Let's go.
And the back to school real estate market. So anyway, or as the kids would say, anyways, it's a very real aspect of DFW real estate. It really changes our real estate market statistically, actively, confidence-wise, and we're going to get into it.
Attentiveness.
Yes, very much so, just about the attention on the marketplace. But before we get into the nuance and the stats of all this, here's why we talk about it every single year on the show. Because there is opportunity here and there is risk here. If you are a home buyer or a home seller, or you want to be in the next month or so, or you have a friend or a family member or a coworker or employee or whatever, and you ignore this, you'll either get totally blindsided and never know it, meaning like there will be pain, there will be cost, but you won't always understand why. Or you might just get like blindly lucky, which is much less common, and not be able to ever replicate it ever again. So we're going to give you the podcast version, a shorter, simplified version here, all we can. And then if you do want to buy or sell a home this time of year in Dallas or Fort Worth, then, reach out to us, ToddTremontiTeam.com, or just Google my name, Todd Tremonti. Even if you misspell it, you'll find us. So the point here is this. If you are a home buyer right now, you are heading into a season where most home buyers begin to tap out. It's like, well, summer's almost over. Like you said, I'm not ready. Time to do that last trip. We want to finish that last project. Let's figure out the sports schedules and the school schedules and the drop-off times and the lunches and
We've got a marching band this year.
New grades, new teachers, new instruments, new equipment, new clothes, all that stuff, right? And you're just like, ugh. If I'm a buyer, like I don't know if maybe I'll just take some time off. And what I'm telling you is don't do that. If you and your family, your finances are ready, lean in, go buy a house in the next 30 days. You'll be really glad you did. That's true of almost everyone. Now, if you're a seller and you're not paying attention, you're going to get stung by that. Less and less buyers are in the market, even though it feels like it's still summer. It's not even August, blah, blah, look at this. You're getting hurt by a less demand, less interest, less attention on the market, and you may not fully understand why. Now, there are ways for buyers to get hurt, even though what I just said is true, and sellers to win, even though what I just said is true. That comes down to strategy. But the market itself, August, I've said it this way for probably 15 years. It's like someone picked up the remote control for the Dallas-Fort Worth real estate market and hit pause in August. It's like they were like, oop, let me turn the volume way down, almost off. Or literally were like, everything just kind of slipped into neutral there. There's no There's no more momentum. There's no more energy. It's crazy freaking hot. Nobody wants to go outside or be in a stranger's house. People don't want other people in their house. It's annoying. It's hard to schedule things. There's so much chaos going on. And then on the sell side, if you're a seller and you have not sold your house and you're watching August approach on the calendar, you're like, shoot, we missed it. We didn't get it done this year. Yeah. Because that stereotype is in your head of like, well, you're supposed to sell in spring and summer, and summer's like over. Dang it.
Well, so do you think you pause and you're like, let's just get back to school and then let's hit it in the spring?
I think, and Ian can speak to this too, like traditionally people start telling us now we're going to wait till next year. So yes, they're saying, I'm going to wait till the spring. So it's late July and they're like, shoot, I guess May is it. We'll just wait till April or May. Right? And you're like,
sometimes it'll be like a half year. Like, hey, we're going to wait till Christmas will be the next opportunity.
But ironically, Christmas is the other time where this happens a lot too. Yeah. It's actually not as significant at Christmas as it is at back to school. But we always tell people, hey, you don't need to wait at all. You just need to adjust your strategy. And if for some reason someone did really, truly need to wait, then we would say the fall is actually a great market in DFW. And I think in 2026, the fall is probably going to be a better market than the summer was. But we'll do a different market update podcast on that or whatever. So those are the general conditions of summers in the real estate market in DFW. We're going to go to our microscope analysis, deep dive data geek, Ian Daniels, always bringing the hardcore numbers here on DFW Real Estate Weekly with Todd Tremonti and the Yanni Donnie, the English wonder himself, Ian Daniels, and Full Price Courtney. Ian?
Here we are.
Here's what I'll tell you is that we generally in DFW peak in a number of home sales in July. By the time we get to Thanksgiving, we'll be down about 30%.
Yep. But, and we always say this, it doesn't mean all the homes sell in the middle of the year. It's not like this crazy bell curve. But July is normally the highest activity month. June is the next most likely, and there are quite a few years where June slightly outpaces July. A lot of years they look fairly similar.
May, June, July are always fairly similar.
Yes, and that's predictable. We know that. Yep. We know that, okay, summer, but it's not June, July, August.
Correct.
Which is what a lot of people would think. It's May, June, July.
August is when we begin to see the drop-off.
Yes.
And it's a few thousand less homes, generally speaking.
But let me ask you an annoying question for most people, but you're going to know exactly what I mean. When you say August, what do you mean?
Homes that went under contract in end of June through July.
Okay. So that's the trick, Courtney, is when we say August, homes are still closing and funding in August. When I just look at the last 5 years, because we haven't had August of this year yet. But if I look at the last 5 years, the number of home sales in August are very close to July and actually are higher in 2 of the last 5 years and higher or the same in 3 of the last 5 years. And in all 5 of the last 5 years, it's within a couple of thousand homes. And we're talking about 31 to 35,000 homes, right? So a very small difference. But when you start to look at September, and normally we would say the homes that are closing and funding and finishing transactions in September were normally put under contract in late June or July. So when we're talking about back to school, we're really looking at the September and early October numbers of closings. And those numbers drop off pretty quickly. Those numbers are almost always below 30,000 in the 27 to 31,000. And then October is more like a 26 to 30,000 total homes sold. So what you're seeing is that there's always a bunch of homes selling in Dallas. But we are seeing the drop off. Less homes are put under contract in August, which means less people are out shopping, less people are making offers, less sellers are accepting offers. And that starts to trickle into what we call the late summer market, the early fall market, which is always about 30 days off of the traditional cycle of seasons because real estate's different. This show is brought to you by the Todd Tremonti Home Selling Team, where we guarantee to sell your home over the average price and under the average time. We also guarantee to help you buy a home and save at least $5,000 throughout the purchase process. Check out over 800 5-star reviews on Google We'll get back to the show. So what we're saying is that's the general idea. Statistically speaking, this year, we actually had a pretty solid June as far as total transactions. We had a pretty darn solid May as far as total transactions. But the numbers are misleading because the market is actually growing and sales are about what they've been the last few years. So sales really haven't increased totally since 2022.
Yeah.
And normally there's a steady growth of total sales every year.
Well, the amount of inventory on the market has substantially grown.
Yeah. In some areas, it's tripled. Now, it's tripled from almost no inventory. So it's not like it's an excessive amount of inventory, but it's like a stable, there's enough to look at.
I mean, in most places now, there's 4 months of inventory.
Exactly, which we would say is a stable market. It's kind of a middle market. It's actually not a simple, stable middle market, but the data-wise, there's some give and take between buyers and sellers at that amount of housing for sale. All we're saying is this summer looks to act like a normal summer. Overall, transaction totals haven't really grown in 3 or 4 years, but proportionately, each month is acting like those months normally act, which is, there's a ramp up. This month, this year, 2026, I'm going to give you the total monthly sales from January through June. 22,600, 25,700, 32,400, 32,700, 34,900, 35,400. It's the normal creep up. You're not seeing like 2,000 and then 50,000. It's 22, 25, 32, 32, 34, 35. But we expect that our July numbers will be about like June, and then those August numbers will start to slide, and then September will dip again. And then I'm expecting an October-November bump. But all of that to be said, here's what you should do with that information if you are a buyer or a seller in Dallas and Fort Worth. Okay. What do you want to do first, Courtney? Buyers or sellers?
Buyers.
Okay. If I was a buyer in DFW.
How am I going to win?
And I'm looking at this data and I'm like, oh, less homes are selling typically after July. Okay. I'm a buyer and the market for sellers is not as good. I might have a little more leverage. So whereas other buyers start pulling back from the market, I'm going to lean in. I would like to be a buyer who buys a house from a seller who's thinking, shoot, we missed it for this year. If we don't sell it really quick, we're going to have to wait till next spring. We already talked about that's kind of the stereotypical thinking. So I want to be a buyer who's buying a house from a seller whose confidence is at its lowest point of the year. I don't want to hurt them. I'm just saying that's a good seller for me to be buying from. And someone in that situation is likely to do what, Courtney? If I feel like you're the buyer and you're probably my last chance to sell the house this year, am I going to be more willing to negotiate with you or less willing?
Quite willing.
Yeah. So I want to buy from someone like that. I'm not trying to be a jerk or I didn't do this, but that's what the market is offering to me right now. Now there's some strategy within that obviously we offer our clients at the Todd Tremonti Home Selling Team. You can reach out, toddtremontiteam.com. But I'm sharing the overall strategy that is, I want to be a buyer when sellers are less confident. I want to be a buyer when there are less buyers in the market, when buyers are starting to pull back from the market. I want to be a buyer when the sellers that are staying on the market and don't wait till next year, those tend to be the sellers that really need to sell this year, that can't afford or don't want to, or they're not willing to wait until next year. Maybe they'll drop their price. Maybe they'll leave some furniture. Maybe they'll be a little bit more flexible on time. Maybe other really important terms for me are going to be more negotiable. I want to buy when that's the seller's mindset. And my wife and I have almost always bought in October or November for that exact reason, which means we got started buying in July and August so that we could buy within a 60, 90-day window after that. So if I'm a buyer, I'm actually starting to lean in, even though I might feel exhausted by trying to buy all summer or not being fully ready yet. I want to get ready and get a house under contract in the next 60 days. Okay? If I'm a seller, different approach entirely. I want those other sellers to bail out of the market. And I'm like, okay, less sellers to compete with. And I know that some buyers are going to bail out of the market. And I know that I'm most likely going to be left with buyers. Normally, most buyers don't have the mentality that we just shared. most buyers are like, shoot, I missed it too. And it's back to school and then it's the holidays and I don't really want to do it. But the buyers that stick around after summer are typically the buyers that want or need to really buy. So now I don't have the tire kickers and the wannabes and the cruddy offer makers and the people that waste the time. I've got an efficient market with real buyers, usually motivated buyers, and less sellers to compete with. So I'm not going to allow the general stereotypes of the market to make me a less confident seller. I'm going to be a very confident seller with less sellers to compete with and serious buyers to work with. And I'm going to position my home uniquely, and I'm going to work with a great team. Wink, wink, Todd Tremonti Home Selling Team. I'm going to follow a process. I'm going to have a unique marketing model for my home. And I'm going to look to do both, especially if I was selling and buying, which I normally am when I'm buying. And so that's why we like after back to school or during and, starting during back to school and closing and funding after that. Because I want to be a confident strategic seller selling to a committed needs to buy now buyer. And I want to be an aggressive, patient buyer buying from a less confident needs to sell seller. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. So this is how many people call us, Ian, already knowing that, ready to get in the game and take advantage of those strategies?
Not that many.
Yeah. It's just not the logical way of thinking, right? So this is the time of years that buyers start saying and thinking and doing what types of stuff?
I mean, they're just kind of looking around and curious as to what might be out there and curious if there's any deals available.
Yeah. A lot of buyers this time of year start waffling a little bit. They start pulling back, or they're like, they too start thinking, okay, well, we were supposed to buy during spring and summer and we didn't. So maybe we'll do it next year.
Even people that are like ready to go and have reasons for wanting to do stuff this year more than I can remember, there's still a lot of that.
This market as a whole, like earlier I said, even though we have 4 months of inventory, it's not a stable middle market. I've been calling it the murky middle since mid 2022.
Yeah.
And that hasn't really changed. The murkiness is moving around. It's like that neighborhood's kind of a hot seller's market. That neighborhood's very much a buyer's market. That house has a lot of leverage for these reasons. So that house is sort of a very totally different market than most of the ones around it. And that is what this market still is. So yes, to Ian's point, there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of skepticism. There's a lot of indecision, a tremendous amount of fear and anxiety. Like, man, I don't want to make the wrong move, even though I can afford it and that house is available and I like it, but I still feel reluctant. Or I know we're ready to sell. This is no longer the right house for us. We want to be in the house over there, but it just feels crazy. It feels overwhelming. It feels hard to make a decision. That is still the market right now. I'm trying to give you the cheat code, the hack, the shortcut to getting it right for you and your family and your finances. Now, on a podcast, I can only give you these broader strokes, but we've been pretty darn specific today on the show. But if you want very specific, if you want to say, this is my situation, what should I do? Can you help me? The answer is most likely yes, but not always. We're not a fit for everybody. But reach out to us at the Todd Tremonti Home Selling Team. You can go to toddtremontiteam.com and you will find us. You can hit us up on a chat bot. You can contact us. You can email. You can call. The best thing to do is just call and get on the phone with one of our full-time, fully dedicated, specialized agents. Our agents only work with sellers or they only work with buyers. And then if you're doing both, you get two agents. It's like having an awesome legal team going to court with you. You get a dedicated agent plus our staff plus other agents supporting those agents. You get a really world-class deal. But the best thing to do is just to get on the phone with one of our specialists and talk about your situation, your budget, your timing, your values, your goals, your non-negotiables. So if that's where you are right now, go to toddtremontiteam.com or just Google my name. You'll find us. And we'd be thrilled to, put a world-class agent in to work for you, leading, guiding, and advocating for you. Generally speaking, though, this is when people pull back because of the weather, because of the temperature, because of school, because of work. The school zones turn back on and the commute takes 10 minutes longer and all that stuff is just like a full distraction of transitioning into fall school, fall work schedules, all that stuff. And we're telling you there's real opportunity for buyers and sellers right now. So the back to school market is very real. It's like somebody hit a pause on the DFW market, but there is no pause for you. If you are ready to buy or sell, this is a great time. This is my preferred time, is during or just after back to school to find good deals, to get a great deal on the home I'm selling, and we can help you do the same thing. So hopefully this information was helpful. I know it was if you're in this situation, because for over 20 years, this has been a go-to home run strategy for our clients and us. So if this is valuable, share it with somebody that it might help. Leave us a review for the podcast, or make sure you're subscribed and you're getting our future episodes, because we're banging out some good stuff for you here lately. And if you're watching this somewhere, leave us a comment on episodes you'd like to see us put together for you. And maybe we will, maybe we won't, because there are some crazy comments on YouTube, folks. Until next time, over and